What's up, y'all? It's your boy Melanated Master here with another book review video. In this book review, I'll be reviewing DNA of the Gods by Chris Hardy. She did a great job with this book. This book is probably one of the most attention grasping books that I've read. The way that she captures the reader's interest is very, very uh, great. For lack of a better word. She has a skill at that. But I really like this book because it gave me a good information on learning about the Anunnaki pantheon. How you got the story of the Sumerian tablets, which include Enki and Enlil and their father Anu, and then how Enki had his sons and daughters. One of them being Thoth, the builder of the Great Pyramid of Giza. How Enlil is like the devil, or is the actual person that's being referred to as Yahweh in the Bible. How he hated humans and he didn't really care about them, and he just made us. Well, he didn't make us, but he wanted us to be made just to be slaves. And how Enki wanted us to reach our full potential and our full consciousness that we could reach on a level the same as them, if not really higher, because all the evidence and all the stories in this book speaks of the Anunnaki and different beings saying that we have the potential to reach a higher level of consciousness in a higher dimension than most of the beings in the third dimension, right? And that one of the reasons why we're being suppressed so much when it comes to information is because they don't want people reaching these levels, right? And it's very interesting because in this book it talks about the mystery schools and how Thoth was the initiate of their mystery schools, and how he taught the different sciences of life and what we now call sorcery and magic. Which if you watch my Othello's Children in the New World book review video, you know that I'm a big believer that magic and sorcery is a real thing, just like how you see in the movies, like in the medieval movies with all these sorcerers that can, telekinesis, and that can wage fire and all these different types of elements. I believe that stuff is real. I just believe that you don't see it now because it's been suppressed since a large amount of people used to do it back in the day. The people that are running this planet realize that they have to suppress it a lot more because it's you can't control people who, you can't control niggas just running around here lifting cars with their minds and lifting blocks and stones with them. It's a much more harder game that way. So a lot of it's been suppressed. But yeah, and I forgot to mention in that book review video, Othello's Children in the New World by Jose V. Pimienta Bay, is that the Rosicrucians, what's his name, Christian Rosencreutz, that dude said that, or not him, but actually the pamphlets of the Rosicrucian order, they pay all the homage to, they say like the Grand Rosicrucian or the master teacher is Akhenaten. That's what it says in their pamphlets in that, branch of Freemasonry. They give their praise to Akhenaten, which, if you know the Egyptian pantheon, you know that Akhenaten is a Egyptian or Kemetan high priest. He's Anunnaki, right? He's a part of the Anunnaki pantheon as well. But yeah, that's just a side note I forgot to mention in that video. It's very interesting. But back to this book, yeah, Enki, Enlil, then you got Thoth. In this book, it talks about how, because now in religions, and at least in religion, most popular religions like Islam and Christianity and different, Catholicism and different versions of Christianity, for lack of a better phrase, how they talk about, or they always refer to God as He or Him, when in reality, at least from the Sumerian tablets, that the information in this book, it talks about how the real creator of the human race wasn't an actual male or masculine being. It was actually a feminine being the Anunnaki woman, which was her name was Ninma. And Ninma was supposedly, well, not supposedly, but she was damn near like one of the greatest Anunnaki because she was so brilliant and she's one of the smartest Anunnaki. She was great at engineering, at genetics, biology, you name it, physics, all these skills. She was, one of the greatest at all of them because she had the knowledge. And as well as Inky, right? So Inky and Ninma, right? These are two children of Anu, right? And they're actually brother and sister. And what's kind of awkward or unusual about the Anunnaki is, in order to keep the oligarchy that they kind of got, because the uh, the Anunnaki pantheon is, at least from what I've read, Enki, Enlil, and Ninma and Anu is kind of an oligarchy. Well, an oligarchy is just a group of people or members of a group that rule, particular element or area or people, right? So they kind of got an oligarchy going on with Anu being like the top head of the oligarchy, right? And but yeah, so Ninma and Enki is weird, it's unusual because they marry each other, being half brother and half sister. They marry each other to keep the bloodline royal, so to speak. So to keep passing it down through the family and to keep the blood established, right? Um, yeah, it's very interesting. So Ninma was a great Anunnaki scientist. She was credited for um, creating the human race by using an existing earth being or hominid, whatever you want to call it. It was our ancestors were already here on earth living, but when the Anunnaki arrived here, they used the hominid from them that were already on the planet, as well as the DNA from the Anunnaki, to make this hybrid human species that we are today. And it's a very interesting story, and that hits the name DNA of the gods, because the gods, or the god that is referred to in the Bible, is actually the Anunnaki gods. So DNA of the gods, this book is saying that we have the same DNA of the god beings that made us, and we have more potential than they do. Hence why, a lot of information is suppressed. But a very interesting book. I definitely recommend, if you don't know about the Anunnaki and you at least want some good information or a background or kind of an understanding, a basic understanding of how the Anunnaki, or who the Anunnaki were, and what the main story is, or a version of the story is, then I definitely recommend getting this book. I got this book from Books a Million. Pretty sure you get it on Amazon, but she's a great author. I actually want to get her other book. She has another book, uh, Chris Hardy. I forgot the name of the other book, but it talks about like the star systems and different star portals and stuff like that, which is very interesting. But yeah, this book is great. I mean, it just goes on and on about the Anunnaki. I mean, how you got Marduk, how you got the battles between Enki and Enlil over control, because when the Anunnaki first came, which if you know the story goes that they came here to mine gold for their planet that was dying, which the planet name was Nibiru, and they ended up mining the gold here. But the Anunnaki that were tasked with mining the gold were getting very tired and weary, and they started rebelling against the Anunnaki pantheon. So Enki and Enlil and Ninmah and Anunnaki came up with this idea to create a hybrid race of slaves to mine this gold for them, which ended up being us. Um, Enki wanted us to become enlightened, and Lil didn't want us to become enlightened. It's kind of the story of Adam, or this is where you get the story of Adam and Eve. Uh, and the serpent being Enki, enlightening us with the apple, right? Apple representing higher levels of consciousness and knowledge, right? So Enlil was the chief of command of Earth when they got sent here. Enki went against Enlil. They started battling each other. The battle got passed on along to the sons, which were obviously Thoth and we got Marduk. I believe there's actually another child of those two, but Thoth. So in Sumerian, the beings that are referred to that we know today as like Thoth or Enki are actually referred to as different names in Sumerian. Like Thoth's name is Ningishita. And it also talks about Noah in here as well. The prophet Noah, his name in here is Ziuzadra, right? Ziuzadra or is Noah or is known as Noah in the Bible, or his other name as well is Utnat Pishtim or Utnat Pishtim or Utnat Pishtim, however you want to say it. That was his name in Sumerian. But it tells the story of that. It tells actually where the biblical stories come from, right? Um, uh, Enoch, right? Enoch being, you know, he was a great prophet. His story always intrigued me in the Bible. How he didn't have to experience death, and he got to live in heaven with God, right? In his book, it actually expands on that story, and what it's really talking about is how Enoch was so righteous and perfect to them at least. He could learn all these different sciences easily, and he was also a great engineer, but he was so good that they actually took him along with Noah, which Noah they perceived as the first perfect human being, right? Uh, but they took those two, and it said that they took them to go live on the Nibiru with them since they were so elevated consciously, right? Um, but it talks about that, right? Enoch, Thoth, being one of the most intelligent beings to ever walk the planet. It talks about his story and you know how he played a hand in helping Ninmah create humanity. So when I spoke about how the DNA was taken from the Anunnaki and the people that were already living on Earth, well, the DNA that they took from the Anunnaki was actually from Thoth. At least this is what this book is saying. It's a theory, is that the DNA that was taken from the Anunnaki specifically came from Thoth to create Adamu, or what they call Tiamat or Adamu, which was the first um, hybrid, so to speak, being that they used to uh, mine the gold, right? Um, I mean, there's so many theories on the Anunnaki that me personally, I think it's important to just uh, stick with the overall story. Don't get too caught up in these different theories coming from different people that believe that, you should listen to them. And, I think as long as you have a decent, not or decent background and knowledge, based understanding of the overall story, that's all you need to really focus on to be able to move forward, right? Because the details of the stories doesn't really matter, because there's so many different ones, and people obviously, if you don't know of how many researchers research the tablets and everything, there's so many different interpretations of the tablet, right? Of the tablets, right? So, but there's an overall understanding of beings that came from other places and other planets and other dimensions and everything. So I definitely recommend this book, DNA of the Gods, one of the best books that I've read on the Anunnaki, and I'm so glad that I picked this book up, and it's just really the title got me. And then after I seen DNA of the Gods, and then I seen, the Anunnaki and the creation of Eve and all of that, it was a no-brainer that I was picking this book up. I didn't even care what the price was. How much did I pay for this? Said book's a million. I paid $18 for this, but I definitely recommend it. Getting it off Amazon. They probably got it for a much lower price. But like I said, you want to learn about the Anunnaki and their story, definitely recommend it. Definitely recommend getting this book. And it's your boy Melanated Mastery. I'm out. Catch y'all later. Peace.